This past weekend at the grand finals of the War Within Season 1 TGP, Mandatory was leading heading into Day 3 of the tournament, with one final dungeon yet to be announced. With pressure from a reinvigorated Streamer Zone GG and the upstart American team No Speaky making a charge, Mandatory pulled out all the stops, timing a world-first 21 Ara-Kara in the heat of competition. Let's break down the difficulty of a key at this level and how Mandatory was able to pull it off. They show off this game plan right at the start of the key, with Mode picking up the tailoring item from the Discord attendant and instantly uses it on the first mini-boss after an impressive roar from Maystine. This stuns the mini-boss for the first 15 seconds of combat and allows the group to do a ton of focus damage before the mob even gets to start to cast. A single web bolt on this key will be enough to one-shot an unknowing player, so anything that helps lock down the mob is useful. After doing enough damage to the engorged crawlers to activate their toxic rupture, they move on to their next pull. Gathering every single flyer and crawler in the area, the group stays tightly stacked to mitigate as much damage as possible inside of Mode's barrier. The flyers do a ton of bleed damage to Skylark, which he eventually removes with a stone skin. And the crawlers are particularly dangerous if they're allowed to free cast their venomous spit ability, especially once the poison cleansing totems are used. Notably, their damage cooldowns do come up during this pull, but they have to save them for the next mini-boss coming up. When the crawlers are low enough to be cleaved into toxic rupture range, the team engages Nact, arguably the most dangerous enemy in the dungeon. Once again, the team uses a combination of a pressing roar plus the silk wrap to stun the mini-boss, allowing the team plenty of time to cleave down the remaining crawlers and prepare for the incoming ability, Call of the Brood. On this key level, this ability easily does more than double the team's health bars in less than 2 seconds. But knowing that it's coming first thing after the stun allows the team to prepare and live through the onslaught of damage. Afterward, the team deals with a few more crawlers and flyers on top of the final but least difficult of the 3 mini-bosses, setting them up for the first, and probably the most difficult boss in the key, Avanoxx. Of the many attempts at this dungeon on the final day of the weekend, easily more than half of the runs were ended by this boss. Once again, planning around cooldowns, Mandatory spreads out to acquire a large amount of trash to pull on top of the boss and cleaves it down with the first bloodlust of the dungeon. Avanoxx is a beast of a boss on this difficulty. Every single onslaught and alerting shrill is a massive amount of damage for Mode to heal through. For a little over 5 minutes, the team dances around, dodging the onslaught, kiting the ad spawns while cleaving them down before finally CCing the spiderlings away from the boss and committing to full boss damage. With Avanoxx down, the team looks ahead. Entering the city, they have a new set of enemies to deal with. Assistants whose extraction strikes shred tanks. Web mages with casts that need to be locked down, and blood cards which reduce the damage done to their allies and slam the group for massive AoE damage. Mandatory is meticulous about the progress through this section of the dungeon. Anytime more than any one of these abilities are about to go off, AoE CC is used to delay them. Thunderstorm knockups, solar beams, cap totems, every tool in the bag is used to make sure any chance of a player getting killed is reduced to 0. After dealing with the last few mobs on their way before a noob's act, Mode is able to tag the boss with the assistance of Spatial Paradox from his Augavoker. Once the boss is pulled, he teleports the rest of the team into the arena after a few seconds. As with Avanoxx, this boss is yet another marathon, but with a little less danger. The main focus of this encounter is on the Infestation dot, which does a massive amount of damage over a short period of time. Burrow charge is mostly dealt with by the Augavoker, who baits each one by being the furthest member from the boss and hovering away right before it goes off, avoiding the damage. With the second boss down, one final stretch remains between Mandatory and the final encounter. With one last use of the Silk Web on the Overseer from Stove, the team is able to skip by, with Stove using Shadow Meld to drop combat and rejoin the team. 2 Overseers and a large amount of drones are pulled for a pull where once again, the majority of the danger lies in the hands of Skylark, the tank. As long as he's able to stay alive through this pull, the team will be able to easily cleave down the pull and get set up for the final encounter. After pulling a few final winged carriers to finish off their count, Mandatory engages Keystone the Harvester with over 6 minutes left in the key. At this point, it's a pure DPS race to the finish. On 21, Keystone has nearly 1.5 billion HP the team has to chew through, in addition to making sure they have enough puddles to save themselves from each cosmic singularity, and making sure they have the defensives and cleanses available for every single cultivated poison. With perfect cooldown usage, Mandatory are able to finish off the dungeon with only 40 seconds to spare.
This is the third MDI that Mandatories won, but their first great push. These guys have proven to be the new team to beat and are a juggernaut for any future in the WoW dungeon running scene. Thanks for watching. See you in Undermined very soon.